I think it would alleviate some of my debt as well, and sort of enable me to maybe get out of debt a bit quicker and possibly improve my quality of life, because I do struggle with getting to the end of the month with some money in the bank.
Hi everyone, what you're about to watch is an interview I did all the way back in August of last year with a full-time working single mother in Oldham, one of the most deprived towns in England. It was about the idea of UK adults receiving £822 a month from the government as a right of citizenship, a form of universal basic income. I know this was a while back, but I was going through some of my old interviews while under lockdown, and I thought it would be cool to release this one in full. I hope you enjoy it, and if you do, then please do subscribe to this channel if you've not done so already. What do you do for a living?
I am a secondary school teacher, teach English, and I teach in an alternative provision.
What do you think you would do with an additional £822 a month from the government?
I'd like to think that I'd be really sensible and probably put it in a high interest ISA, or at least some of it. But I think it would alleviate some of my debt as well, and sort of enable me to maybe get out of debt a bit quicker and possibly improve my quality of life, because I do struggle with getting to the end of the month with some money in the bank. So I think I would probably split it between saving and being sensible and thinking long term, but also thinking currently of trying to improve how I'm living.
And do you think most men and women from Oldham would use that money as sensibly as you would if they were to get it too?
Well, I'd like to hope so, but I think that's down to the individual and how an individual manages money, because some individuals can have a small amount of money and spend it quickly, and I think that would probably be the same if they had more. I think if you think about people who've won the lottery, a lot of individuals who've won the lottery have got a real vast amount of money, but actually they've struggled to cope and manage that money and have lost a lot of it or not used it wisely. So I think if we were given that extra money, I think some people need a little bit of support or guidance with that, what to do with it. So I think in answer to your question, the short answer would be no, I don't think they would. I think people live very much in the moment now. They're not putting money into their pensions. They're not thinking long term. They're thinking day to day, short term.
Why do you think people are thinking more short term, as you put it?
I think there's a philosophy now of you only live once. Let's just live. Let's go on the holidays, let's have the nice car, let's have all the fancy things. And I think people I think it's just a change in sort of culture, that people just live for the moment and not necessarily, generally, don't think long term, perhaps. I don't think there's a lot of people who actually have a lot of good financial advice or knowledge. And I would classify myself as one of them. So I've got myself into a lot of credit card debt. If I did things differently, I probably wouldn't have a credit card now. And I would probably really work hard to make sure that my son was debt free, because I think short term is okay, but long term, it's hard.
Right, so you're actually a teacher as well. Do you think schools do enough to teach people about how to manage their finances? And if they did more, would you then be more comfortable with, as a policy, having this idea implemented of an £822 monthly payment to every UK adult as a right of citizenship?
So I don't think, I'm only in a small alternative provision, so we can pretty well much teach the children what we feel the children need to know. And I do think we do a little bit of work on that, but I do think that there's more work to do. I can't talk about secondary mainstream schools or primary schools because I don't really know what they do, but I do think that there is an ethos and it is changing, and I think people do need to be more savvy with the money. So I do think that is coming through in the curriculum in school. And I do think that if we got this pot of money If people were a bit more financially savvy, then I think it would be of obvious benefit. But I do think there's more to do education-wise, starting from a young age as well, because you don't always know how to manage a budget, and I think there's a lot of adults who don't know how to manage a budget and don't know how much money they've got to feed their family and how far their money can go, and we've got the issue with food banks as well and all of those things. So there's quite a lot of clearly there's a lot of work to do in that area because people don't know how to balance their budgets and manage their money. And I think even if they got extra money, I think possibly most of them would probably just end up still not having money at the end of the month.
So if every British full-time worker from the age of 18 were to receive this £822 monthly payment, do you think it's more likely that they would become lazier or more productive as a result?
I'd like to be an optimist and say that they will be more productive, but I think personally they probably would be less inclined to work and go out to work.
Why do you say that?
Well, I think I would be inclined. I would personally think, well, I've got an extra £800. Maybe I'll just do a 4-day week. I wouldn't become lazier, but maybe I'd be less inclined to work because I'm going to have that buffer anyway. And maybe I could do my 4-day week, and maybe other people would feel like that. Again, I think it's down to the individual. If you're generally lazy anyway, then you're not going to suddenly become productive because you've got an extra bit of money. So again, I think it's an individual thing, and I don't want to make too many broad statements of, there's some people who are in the benefit system who wish to remain in the benefit system because they're getting their money anyway. But I know that's only a small percentage of people. A lot of people who are on benefits are trying to climb out of the benefit system and be productive. I do think, again, it's an individual, down to the individual. But yeah, I do think generally we probably would be work less if we got extra money.
Devil's advocate on that point. Do you think if people went down to a 4-day week, as you suggested you might if you were to get that money, do you think that might make them more productive because they're better rested, they're less embroiled in or snowed under with work, and they can focus more? What do you think?
Well, maybe at the current climate that we're in, where we're talking about well-being and we're talking about the need for sort of good mental health and exercise and better living, maybe they might use their time to improve that aspect of their life. So for example, currently I couldn't get to a gym. I don't have the ability to get to a gym. I'm a full-time working single mum. But if I went to a 4-day week and my son was at school, then I could go to the gym on that day, or I could do some different things for me to benefit me. So perhaps again, some people would, and again I think it would be down to how people live. I don't know whether that money would massively change people's lifestyle. I don't think it would be life-changing for them. I think it would just be that they'd have more money and still possibly do the same things, but they've just got a bit more money to do it.